Back, part two. Now, I said what I said. You understand me? Hey, and I'm unapologetic about it. I said what I said. I meant what I said. And it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? If you offended, tell it to the prosecutor. What man? You understand me? But look, on a serious, well, both of them serious, but on a more intimate note, I should say. So I had a lot. Well, 8 or 9 maybe people that was asking me the question, how you deal with a nigga who done so much time? Again, I'm gonna say this here because listen, and this is a sensitive topic for me because I've been the nigga that's been hard to deal with in a relationship. You have to understand the purpose of the penal system. Don't believe that old cliche, that old myth that had been told that prison is designed for rehabilitation. It ain't. It's designed for degradation. It's designed to degrade the personality. Because listen, this here. When you go to prison, you're given a pamphlet. If you know, you know. You understand me? You're given a pamphlet. It's called an inmate guidebook, right? And it tells you don't talk about your personal life or information with other inmates. Don't share. It warns you that even standing out in the opening with more than 3 people is against the rules and could be considered an organized disobedience. What it does is it conditions you to become antisocial, right? And so over the years, a lot of people adhere to that stuff and they become antisocial because that's the indoctrination and the narrative that's being pushed from the very point of entry into the penal system. So in the field of academics, there's a such discipline as penal science. This goes, it gets so selective. The discipline is so selective all the way down to what you eat, what time you eat, even the color of the walls. Give you an example, right? You go to some jails, males, and you will see that they have pink wall coloring. Penal science, these so-called psychologists and psychiatrists and so on and so forth, they believe that color therapy, that it will soften the personality of violent people and stuff like that. So you'll go in some cells, in male prisons or male jails, and they have pink cells. They have like these soft teal colors. They believe that it softens people. So what I'm saying is, you've been indoctrinated from the very point of entry to become antisocial. This is designed to kill off your people skills. You understand what I'm saying? This is designed to kill off your people's skills. Because you told not to gather, not to show general compassion. You told to mind your business. You told not to share with people. You told not to trade, everything in this pamphlet is designed to mentally isolate you from your environment, from your surrounding, right? And so you go through prison and you see, and this is a fair warning too. I ain't gonna say that it's unwarranted, cause some niggas you shouldn't share with, cause you got real live booty bandits, you got real live leeches, you got parasites in that thing. So I ain't saying that it's unwarranted. This is not what I'm saying by no means. But what I'm saying is the psychology behind it creates an anti-socialist. You see what I'm saying? So listen to this here. Take me, for instance. I never follow rules. I'm thugging from the day I walked in that mother. You understand me? I never follow rules. I don't think I ever read a handbook until I was 10, 15, maybe 10 years, maybe 10, 15 years in that thing. But it never changed. You know what I'm talking about? It never changed. Same shit. When I read it, I was appalled. I read it in my elevated state of consciousness. I said, damn, that's crazy. It's crazy what they tell. They making sure that you niggas don't unify. They making sure that they kill off any general empathy for humanity. Right? But this is my point. All jokes aside. A lot of these men who served a lot of time like that, they done been in dangerous situations. They done been in super dangerous environment. I went to the penitentiary, and when I got to the penitentiary, I was 15 years old, I was 5'6", and I was 112 pounds. This is no lie, this is a true story. Those who don't know. I was 15 years old when I touched the yard. I was 5'6", and I was 112 pounds. Seal meat to a short. You know what I'm talking about? Seal meat. But my mother tell you, all my partners and stuff, they was way older than me. So by the time I hit the workhouse, which is our city jail, half of my circle from the streets was there. A lot of the niggas I knew was there. And I ain't never been no pussy ass nigga. You know, I got that Williams blood in me. I always been dangerous. You know, not to keep on the spout though, because ain't nothing cute about it, but it is what it is. I'm one of them. You know, man, look proud of me, you know. But nevertheless, though, let me get back on topic, right? We done been in dangerous situations. The sages say that the only way for a sheep to survive amongst wolves, that some bitch must grow some fangs and bite back. Or bite first. Again, when I came home after doing 14 years and 3 months, I was fucked up in the head. I was fucked up. Like, I had so much anger and bitterness in me, and I was conditioned to not question confrontation. So any confrontation that I had, I go to the max. I go 0 to 100. I don't question why, who this person is to me. You just go. Because I was so small and I was so young when I went in the system. The only way that I kept from getting raped or extorted is that anytime I sensed a problem or sensed a disagreement or sensed something was off, I had to go first. And I had to give it all I could. This oftentimes resulted in me stabbing on a nigga, beating on a nigga, throwing uh uh magic shade with piss and bleach on a nigga. It didn't matter. My survival, my manhood, and my livelihood depended on me going first and giving it all I got. And so that became my way of life. You understand what I'm saying? That became my way of life. I have to go first. In order for me to win, I'm so small. I'm so small. You know what I'm saying? I'm light in the ass and they can't have their way with me for real. So I got to go first. In every situation, I gotta go first. And so this became my thought process in life. With any confrontation that I encounter, I gotta go first, and I gotta be as violent as I possibly can. I gotta hit hard and make it count. You do 11 years on a level 5 yard, where niggas is getting raped, killed, and assaulted, and that shit been normalized to where it's just a thing. Like, hey, yeah, he raped that boy that boy got raped last night. Like, damn, they did. Man, that nigga shouldn't have, boy, that nigga went up in that cell with that nigga. As if it was a laughing matter. But that's how normalized that type of behavior had became. Nigga get killed. Damn, what we on lockdown for? Boy killed his silly down there. Damn, man, them fuck up my visit. Normalized. And so I'm saying, when you do so much time like that, you institutionalize as hell. I once beat a nigga silly. I bust this nigga all over his head with a crock pot. Cause he peed on the toilet and didn't wipe it off. Right? Another nigga got up in the middle of the night, he taking a piss and didn't flush the toilet as he was pissing. He waited until he got done pissing and flushed the toilet. Nigga, I ain't finna tell you how to jail. I'm gonna bust him over. I bust this nigga head. I beat this nigga silly overnight. Right? That's some institutionalized shit, and I'm finna tell you why it's institutionalized, because it's thinking that you only gonna develop in an institution. Them goddamn residential toilets don't flush like that. Once you flush it once, you gotta wait for the back of it to fill up before you can flush it again. So that courtesy flush shit is a mentality that you gonna only develop inside of institutions, where they have institutional toilets that you can flush repeatedly. You can't do that with residential toilets, right? I'm just giving you an idea. My point is this. A nigga done 30 years, 20 years, 50, a nigga done 10 years. He not normal in his thinking. And you have to allow a grace period. Because 10, 15, 10 years of institutionalization warrants a grace period to deinstitutionalize. You have to allow a nigga a period to deinstitutionalize. So I'm telling you this here, fucking with a nigga who did a lot of time, it's likened to taking on a child with autism. This nigga gonna have fits out of nowhere. This nigga got triggers that you might never know about. It might be the smallest thing in this world that triggers this nigga. It may be the smallest thing in this world. Some shit that you would never think should trigger no man. But this nigga is not a man. He an animal. He have to deinstitutionalize before he can become fit to be a husband. I fucked up 2 good-ass relationships because I was institutionalized. You see what I'm saying? She was used to dealing with a normal nigga. I wasn't no normal nigga. I was a nigga who done spent more than half of his life incarcerated. You understand what I'm saying? Even if you been your childhood sweetheart with the prison when he was a kid, when you was a kid, and then he come home, you ain't used to dealing with that shit. It's something new. It's something new to you. And it's likened to taking on a kid with autism. Or somebody with Tourette's. They have emotional episodes out of nowhere. Their explanation for why they feel the way they feel, only motherfucker that can understand it is a motherfucker who been institutionalized. I never forget, I came home from prison and this woman wanted to get me a haircut that I was involved with. And, all right, cool. We get the haircut, and then she goes in her pocket and get a nigga the money. I snatched the money from the goddamn barber, gave it back to her and said, you don't get no nigga, pay no nigga for doing nothing for me. You put that motherfucking money in my hand and I'll pay that nigga for my haircut. She ain't see nothing wrong with what she had done, right? But I was offended like a motherfucker. I felt like she would on me in front of a nigga. And I felt like this nigga was looking at me some type of way, but it's us being institutionalized. It takes an extreme level of patience to deal with any man who been incarcerated for an extensive period of time, because this nigga done lived through nightmares that only people who been through that shit can imagine. The shit that he been through, the shit that he's seen, the shit that conditioned and mold his psychology, you will never, 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 never understand it. You couldn't dream of it in your wildest nightmares. And so you have to be patient with those type of people. They institutionalized and they suffer from a mental illness. It's a mental illness like a motherfucker. When you goddamn me fired 31 shots at your favorite auntie child over some shit that's replaceable, your ass is mentally ill. Because if for no other reason, you should be able to rationalize the love that you have for her. And excuse him. I went through all this shit. I speak facts. I swear to God, I speak facts. I ain't speaking on shit that I haven't been through. If you know, you know. I made amends with my aunties, my cousins, my mothers, everybody, man. But they didn't understand. Nigga, I'm fucked up in the head. You gotta understand. I've been in this bitch since I was a child. And I only survived because I became violent as fuck. It wasn't a choice. It was a force play. If I didn't become as violent as I could possibly become in that place, a nigga would have fucked me in my ass so fast. Every noodle I'd have got would have been old wood to a nigga if I didn't become as violent as I could possibly become. And so you release me into this world with no job training, with no educational skills, with shit. And you telling me I owe you to be free. I gotta pay you $30 a month to be free. You release me in debt with no job skills, with no people skills. How do you transition in a matter of a day? I got released from J.C.C., a level 5 yard. How do you transition in a matter of days from being in an environment where you have to have a knife, where you have to put your life on an event that it go left, you got to go? How do you transition from yesterday I was literally ready to die or kill of a nigga taking my seat in the chow hall to you on the streets now and niggas will step on your shoes, not even realizing they stepped on your shoes and won't even say excuse me? That's you releasing a dangerous nigga when you release him without people skills. When you release a nigga without people skills, this nigga don't even have social skills. No work skills. I'm paranoid as a motherfucker working at Hardee's. I snapped out on them motherfucking people I work in Hardee's out in Overland. I snapped completely out on them people. They institutionalized as hell up in that motherfucker. They got a whole convict in that motherfucker. Every time I see a spoon, I'm thinking, oh my God, I can make 3, 4 knives out of this motherfucker. Who think like that on society? But that's the game. And so you have to allow a grace period when you dealing with people who done so much time incarcerated. 10 years of institutionalization require at minimum 3 years of deinstitutionalization. 15 years of incarceration require at least 5.5 years of deinstitutionalizing. These niggas is not gonna be all the what you expected when they come home, when they been in them dangerous environments. Because they didn't have to adapt to their environment, and they had to think a certain way, and they done thought that way for so long. And so it requires a special type of patience. You see what I'm saying? It requires a special type of patience. These niggas are subject to become abusive because they really don't have no social skills, so they don't have no way of translating their emotions. Because emotions in the prison system is a weakness. And so a nigga learned to becoming passive. He learned to not show emotions in all situations. So, and we've been dealing with so many bitch ass niggas and no women. When we deal with our woman, as if we dealing with a bitch ass nigga. So even when we admonish our women, they come off as harsh. And then when you dealing with a strong woman, and she recognizes that you talking to me like I'm one of them niggas in the streets, and then she has some rebuttal, and the nigga don't know how to deal with that, you wind up finding yourself in a domestic situation. It happens. It happens. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never beat on no bitch. I ain't never beat on no woman. I ain't did that. You know what I'm saying? I got different ways how I reacted in them type of situations. But at the same time, though, it happens more often than not. You see what I'm saying? And so it take a different type of patience to deal with a nigga who done so much time, because them niggas is not normal. They not sane right at the moment. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of times you gotta let them niggas find their own way. You gotta allow them to make their own mistakes. They gonna learn. You either gonna gain a husband or you gonna lose a nigga. One or another. But you gotta let them make their own mistakes. You gotta let them get a feel for this world. You see what I'm saying? Only thing you can do is advise them. Once you advise them, let them make their own mistakes. Again, if you love the nigga, be patient. You know what I'm saying? God the best of planners. God is the best of planners. So again, you either gonna gain a husband or you gonna lose a nigga. If you lose a nigga, you gonna be sad, but you gonna be better off. If you gain a husband, bitch, you won. You know what I'm talking about? Because the nigga who been through that and able to find his footing again, it's the best type of nigga that you can have. Trust me. If you lose a nigga, you gonna be hurt, but you gonna be better off. But if this nigga find his footing and he get that traction and you gain you a husband, bitch, you gonna win. That's the best type of nigga that you... Oprah said all the good men in prison for a reason. That's the best type of nigga to have. That's a nigga that ain't afraid to die for you. That's a nigga that ain't afraid to fall for you. That's a nigga who ain't afraid to live with you. And that's a nigga who desire to rise with you. You gonna find, you know, it just work like that. You understand what I'm saying? Because when you pray for rain, you got to live with that mud. That mud that we talking about is that patient, because that institutionalized ass nigga going to take you through some shit. That's why I shit. Because they ain't had a motherfucking patience. I done found that traction now. You know what I'm talking about? Look, I'm husband material. For real. But what I'm saying is this. You got to be patient with them type of niggas. You really got to be patient with them type of niggas. They good niggas. They just fucked up. When I tell you I was fucked up, I was fucked up. I'm like that Diddy man. I was fucked up. You know what I'm saying? I was fucked up. I really was. You know what I'm saying? Like I was fucked up. I found myself, because I was fucked up, I isolated all my family. Looked up, I'm catching murder after murder after murder. Case after case. I'm back and forth to the feds and fucked up, bro. Fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Listen, man, I'm a testament. I'm a testament of niggas coming home fucked up, crazy in the head, stuck on the yard. Man, be patient. When you pray for that rain, you got to deal with that mud, baby. That nigga gonna take you through some shit. He gonna be crazy. He gonna be ready to leave that nigga a million times. You hear me? That nigga gonna seem unhinged as fuck. He gonna seem unhinged as fuck at times. And he really unhinged. That's why you gotta give him his space when he like that. When he like that, let that nigga make his own mistakes. Let that nigga figure that shit out. Let that nigga figure it out. Again, you either gonna lose a nigga or you gonna gain you a husband. If you lose a nigga, you better off. If you gain you a husband, bitch, you winning. You know what I'm talking about? And that's why I say again, man, I come in peace and I leave you in peace. If I said anything to offend anybody, fuck you, so what? If I said anything that reached anybody, hey, man, charge it to God, man. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners. And he been merciful on me. And I can't praise and thank Allah enough for the blessings that he bestowed upon me. Again, let me tell you something, because people piss me off. Let me be happy. You say I'm gonna want to be seen ass nigga. That's cool. But remember, it was a time when I didn't want to be seen, and when I didn't want to be seen, yeah. When I didn't want to be seen, yeah. It got like that. So be happy for me. And let me live in my truth. You live in your truth. I'm going to live in mine. And if you know, you know. It's best to see me like this, smiling, talking shit, having fun, sociable. It's best for me to be like this. The verse is pure, motherfucking, yeah. It ain't right. And it's dark. It's an evil place, bro. I'm tired of living in darkness and walking in shadows. I want that light, bro. I want that shine. You know what I'm talking about? That where niggas get this shit fucked up at. Nigga, you done seen me on the news. You done seen me in the papers. You done seen me in shackles and shit. Why wouldn't I want to be seen in this free society living my life? Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't anybody? If all you ever seen of a person is him in fucked up situation and turmoil and calamity, why would you tell him to tone it down when he living in free society, enjoying himself and having fun and smiling and doing what he want to do if he ain't bothering or harming nobody? Because when the nigga wasn't seeking that light, it was all about harm. He was everything that love wasn't. When you find a nigga that really been on that and he get off of that, appreciate what he doing when he ain't on that. Because it ain't no telling who on that menu when he on that. Oh, come on. I ain't sugarcoating shit. I ain't part of that lifestyle no more, so I can speak on it. When the nigga on that, he on it. When he ain't, be happy. Because you might have been on the menu before he got off of that. You never know.